How do you know if you're emailing admissions officers too much, waiting for a decision, doing everything you can to inform them? Hey, everybody, I'm Steven from Allan Admissions, and today, to answer that question, I'm going to tell you a story. This story is about a student who went through a similar process that you're probably going through. And who is that student? Me. I was once that guy. You know the one who insists on emailing every week just to put a voice in the ear of admissions, just to make sure that they stay top of mind. But I'm here to tell you that as that guy, I was only hurting myself. Now, why is that? Well, first, it doesn't give a very good impression when you're asking questions that can be found with a very quick Google search. I would email questions like, if I have multiple SAT or ACT scores, do I have to report all of them or do I report one of them? And will you consider super score or do you take them all as individual measurements? And quite frankly, that information was available then, it's available now, and it always will be available. Colleges are just not in the game of trying to trick you. They're in the game of giving you as much information as possible, putting everybody as much as possible on an equal playing field so that they can evaluate your application. The only particular instance where it provided any difference to reach out to admissions was when I got deferred from early decision, and they specifically allowed me to send in one additional recommendation letter and a short update, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 words, with any updates to my extracurricular profile and academic achievement since I had submitted my early decision application in October. Other than that, though, pretty much everything had no benefit whatsoever. It caused me a lot more anxiety. It wasted the time of admissions officers and admissions staff. And quite frankly, if I had it emailed too many times, yes, that would have backfired to the point of actually harming my application. Now, I kind of lucked out in this scenario. I actually gave up on the idea of getting into Duke when I got deferred. I was very fortunate to get into regular decision, but it was kind of a happy accident that I stopped emailing and ultimately got into Duke. But what about for you? It's your senior year right now. You're waiting to hear back from early decision. If you get in early decision, great. But if you don't, or if you're just stressed right now waiting to hear back, what should you do? Well, the big thing is don't be like me. Do not be that person that emails once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. And yes, I've seen students like this trying to be top of mind in admissions offices. Now, yes, realistically, if you email once, twice between when you submit your application and hearing back from the schools, you're not going to be penalized. Colleges understand that you're under a lot of stress and anxiety. The bigger issue, though, is that if you tend to email more frequently, this can just kind of create a spiral of anxiety where you may not hear back as quickly as you want, you may get a stock answer, you may read too deeply into the answers, and that can lead to more emails, it can lead to more stress, it can lead to more difficulty for you as a student focusing at school, and it's just not to anyone's benefit, most of all you as the student, to be sending so much correspondence that you get into this spiral. And once you're in that spiral, boy, it's really, really difficult to pull yourself out of it. So if you're not going to be me, as I was several years ago, well, what do you want to do? I'm going to break this down into a few different categories: before early decision, after early decision, after regular decision deadlines, and then in the waiting list period where you've heard back from your school, you didn't get accepted, but you didn't get outright rejected either. How is this going to work? For early decision, which as of the recording of this video is right now, if you don't have any major updates, just don't pester them. Just don't bother. I promise they haven't forgotten about you. I promise that they have not glossed over your profile or missed some key detail in your activities that you already listed. They're reviewing every application the same way. So as long as you provided the information you needed to, you should be good. Now, that said, if you get a major accomplishment, let's say you win a state debate title, let's say you get a national mathematical recognition of some kind, I think it's totally fine to send off one correspondent email just to say, hey, I have this major accomplishment. I'd like to make you aware of it. Be aware, though, depending on how late into the process this goes, colleges may have already reviewed your profile and there's not really anything you can do. I don't think there's any harm in sending a one-off update if you have a major accomplishment, but you have to be realistic and say, if I'm sending this on December 10th and decisions come out December 15th, my fate's probably already been decided for early decision. It may help in the regular decision when you get reevaluated, but for early decision, they probably already made their decision and they're just going through their final dotting their I's and crossing their T's to get everything lined up. Now, what if you get deferred early decision? Well, big thing is if they request additional information or if they allow you to do it, you must do it. I would never tell a student to pass up an opportunity to provide information if the colleges allow it. If in their correspondence they say you may send us a letter updating us on any progress, if they say you may send one additional recommendation letter, please absolutely do it. That is an opportunity to bolster your application. Not filling it out, whether it's because of a sense of despair or frustration, that's just not going to help you. Now, that said, if they don't require anything, if they don't request anything, be very careful in reading what they say. If they say, we will not evaluate any additional materials you send our way, they mean that. They're not trying to play a game to see which students go, quote unquote, above and beyond to figure it out. You're only going to backfire if you send something when they explicitly say that they will not review additional materials. If they don't give any instructions, if they just say you'll be evaluated in regular decision, I think a short update is fine. If it's just a one-off correspondence, just a quick update to provide information. But again, read your deferral letter very closely. Most colleges will be very explicit about what you can and can't do in response to their decision to defer you. Now, if you're talking about a college that you apply to regular decision, I would say the same rules apply as you do for early decision. If you don't have any updates, just don't say anything. If you do get a major update, go ahead and send off a quick email just updating them. But depending on how far along, again, if we're sending this March 15th, probably not going to be part of the evaluation. If you send it before Valentine's Day, there might be a decent chance that it gets looked at. The one exception to all of this rule about not over corresponding to me is on the wait list. If you're on the wait list for a school, I think you need to be at the spot where you should be informing them as much as you can as updates come in. Now, when I say updates as much as you can, that does not mean hourly, daily, not even necessarily weekly correspondence. But what it does mean is that any progress you make academically, any extracurricular awards or achievements you get, you have to send those off as you get them. You don't want to be waiting for someone else on the wait list to bump you further down because they sent updates and bolstered their profile. And by this point, you know that colleges like you enough to want to try and keep you around, but they're not quite ready to put you on their acceptance list. So if you're on the wait list for a school, yes, fire away with the emails. Just keep it realistic. Keep the content in those emails actually meaningful, not just, hey, I'm still here, please pay attention to me updates. I know this can sometimes be easier said than done. Looking back at myself several years ago, I wanted to make sure that I covered all the bases, that Duke knew absolutely everything that it possibly could about me. But really, when I look back at it now, kind of from an objective standpoint and a detached perspective, all I really did was just cause myself a lot of anxiety. It didn't really move the needle in any meaningful way, except for that one particular instance where I got deferred early decision. And a lot of the requests that I sent to Duke were just things I could have looked up on my own. And I think this gets to a bigger point. Colleges are not playing games. They're not hiding things from you. I know that you may watch a video that may say the secret to college admissions. And there's no doubt that there are certain techniques that colleges aren't going to publicize necessarily. They're not going to tell you how to write the best essay possible. But there's not some secret code about emailing 5 times shows dedication beyond what another applicant might. That's just not true. It's only going to cause them a little bit more frustration. It's going to cause you more anxiety. So I would just encourage you, if you feel the urge to reach out to colleges after deadlines, schedule it to be once. If you absolutely must, don't do any more than twice. Just wipe your hands clean at that point and just focus on what you can control. And that's your schoolwork, your extracurricular activities, and how you spend your free time on things that help you relax. That's it for the video. If you have any questions, just leave them below in the comments. Visit me at allanadmissions.com. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.